To sign Taylor Hall or not to sign Taylor Hall? That is indeed a question. What is not a question is whether or not we're going to be signing Mikhail Sergachev. You guys made it pretty clear in the comments of the last episode that, we're going to be going after Mikhail Sergachev. It's just a matter of how cheap of a deal is it going to be. Now, the good thing is we can afford to sign him right now, and it's going to be great. Here's, again, the one issue is term and just how much money do we give you? And right now, unfortunately, he actually doesn't line up all that well with our coach in terms of one of the top two D pairings. We can make that work, however. So the question is, how cheap do we be? How cheap do we be? Because that deal right there is a first, second, and a third. And that's, honestly, I'm good with giving up that compensation. It's just 1 year deal, then renegotiate it. That's not a bad way to go at all. And of course, dropping that down to 5.2, while it is somewhat cheap, although fair game, it's really, just a first and a third. The only reason why I'm tempted to go with a 1 year deal, I know we jumped right into this episode, by the way, too, but hey, why not? The only reason I'm tempted to go with the 1 year deal is to renegotiate, but let's be honest, even if I could get this at like 6.5, that's a steal for a top two defenseman. I feel like that contract right there is fair. If he accepts that, I feel like I'm good with that, and it's fair. We save a little bit of money, and it's not a bad way to go. A 2 year deal could work too. We could split the difference. Actually, hold on. Someone in the comments mentioned when Yandel's deal is up, and I think it is in 3 years, which would make it kind of perfect because then the Yandel money's gone and Sergachev would take over. Yeah, so 2023-24, we're signing Sergachev to a 3 year deal. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to hopefully be able to save a little bit of money. We're going to drop it down to $6.5 million. This will indeed mean that Mackenzie Weegar's on the way out. We'll take that compensation. But let's see if we can take away Mikhail Sergachev from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, when it comes to Taylor Hall, I don't know. More people were certainly on the side of going after Sergachev. The reasoning for not going after Hall, of course, to try and get our younger guys to develop, was very prevalent. As Chris Summers signs, beautiful. We'll advance a couple of days here. Josh Brown is back. TJ Brennan, Austin Strand, Alex Petrovich. Now, what's going on with Taylor Hall is the question, and whether or not there's an offer. There is still no offer out there for Taylor Hall. If his value, or if not if his value, but if his asking price drops, we're going to be able to get him on a really good deal. At that point, it would make all the sense in the world to bring him in. Nick Backstrom's also a free agent, and go figure, he just re-signed with the Caps today. Of course, whenever we start up a new series, a deal like that happens. So Mackenzie Weegar's going to go. I mean, it's a 5x5 contract. We get a first and a third for it. No doubt about it. I don't want to spend $5 million on a second pair defenseman. So we're going to take that compensation. He was great for us last year, but that is too good of an offer to decline. It'll be a first and a third to Ottawa. Sergachev does not want to take a pay cut at all, which kind of sucks. But we'll see what we can do. It's really not even that much of a pay cut. 6.9 even. Why not? Go full meme. See if he'll accept that. And again, still nothing for Taylor Hall. Whether or not any teams can afford him, that's kind of the big question right now. We'll advance a couple of days. Let's see what we got. Sergachev accepts at $6.9 million. There's no way Tampa can match it. They flat out don't have the money. They have like $2.5 million in space. So Mikhail Sergachev, for I believe it was still a first, second, and third round pick, is going to be a member of the Florida Panthers, which is tremendous. And that leaves us with $7.3 million to potentially go after Taylor Hall on a 1 year deal. We'll see. It's going to be kind of close. So there we go. There we go. A first, second, and third round pick on the way out. Mikhail Sergachev is your newest Florida Panther. I wasn't sure if we'd go through with that deal, but swapping Weegar for Sergachev for what essentially amounts for a second round pick and $1.9 million extra in salary, completely worth it. And Taylor Hall's been signed. out of nowhere. Taylor Hall's gone. Wasn't expecting that. That happened very quickly. Where did he go? To Columbus. Let's see what that contract ended up being. So that solves that question. We knew we had to get the Sergachev deal done first. Taylor Hall is a Blue Jacket for 1 year at 7.5, which is a contract that I absolutely offered him that he refused to take. The timing of it was just off, which is always a tough pill to swallow. So that settles it. No Taylor Hall, but Sergachev is here. Let's double check this roster because we are going to have to sign some AHL forwards. But again, now goaltending-wise, we're looking good with Bobrovsky, Francouz, Ingram, Bednard, and Dreger. And actually, just to take a look at the draft pick situation. Now, again, we have Ottawa's first and third. No second-round pick in this upcoming draft. I'm not exactly crying over that. Defenseman, it's now Yandel Sergachev. Jesus Christ, was that deal ever worth it? Absolutely ridiculous. Yandel Sergachev, Ekblad, and Carpenter. Actually, want to sort by overall because it's Yandel Sergachev, Ekblad, Stralman, Matheson, and Carpenter. Then down in the AHL, it's going to be Petrovich, Brown, Strand, Prow, Brennan, Cross, Summers, Stillman. I think we're good. I might need to sign... Alex Petrovich could be the healthy scratch. So I do have to sign Carpenter. And then forward-wise, we have our top 9 there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If Denisenko signs. We actually do have some forwards I want to bring in. So let's go sign some of our unsigned prospects. We won't have to bring in that many free agents. It's going to be pretty straightforward here. So Carpenter, again, we're going to sign him. We're going to give him a chance at the NHL level right out of the gates. Gregory Denisenko. Yeah, I mean, so unfortunately we put him on Calgary, but he's 20. We should be able to send him down. We're going to sign him as well. Logan Hutsko. You know what? For the hell of it, let's try to get this guy to develop. Why not? Artukin, I don't think we need any other defenseman. So 4, 5, 6, 7, that's perfect. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with Massey. Okay, we should be all right. We should be okay. One more defenseman would be the worst thing in the world. So then unsigned forwards. Let's, you know what, Matt Wedman, former Seattle Thunderbird. Current Seattle Thunderbird, apparently. Let's sign him as well. So we are going to need some AHL level forwards. And aside from that, we're good to go. We'll be able to set up this team and start the season sim. Nick Backstrom, of course, we're not even going to worry about. So let's take a look. Who's good with a two-way deal? Who do we want to bring in? Ben Street, John Hayden. You know, John Hayden might get some outside. He might get a boost this season. Daniel Carr, because why not? Habs legend. Juho Amico, former Panther. Bring him back. Delorier, Brodzinski, Lucas Radil, who God knows how many times we ended up signing him. Michael Haley in that Shark series is what I was going to say. We'll bring in Michael Haley. That'll bring us up to 46, and we should be good. Could bring in Bo Bennett. Delorier. We're probably good. Yeah, we're probably good. Gerby's there, Belzile, Edsel. Yeah, we should be okay. I would hope. Okay, so let's move forward. Hopefully we see an improvement from the likes of Borgstrom and Tippett, because again, this is going to be their year to shine. We're going to see what they're capable of in this upcoming season. Now that Mike Hoffman and Evgeny Dadonov are gone, again, that was a possibility that we were prepared for regardless. So, very intrigued to see what happens here now that it actually did happen. Of course, the one thing that sucks is, yeah, we made the Cup final in Season 1. It made that decision to let them go a little bit more difficult, but I think it'll work out for us, and we're still listed as champions, which really we should be. So, goaltending-wise, I think it is going to be Francouz who gets the opportunity to be the backup to start the year. Defensively, now it's Sergachev, Yandel, Ekblad, Stralman, Matheson, Petrovich, and Carpenter. That's perfect. AHL's looking okay. And then forward-wise, we have our top 10, 11, 12, and 13. Both Borgstrom and Tippett went up. Alexis Sorella actually improved as well. Heponiemi is listed as a depth option. He'll have one more season down in the AHL because, again, he's another guy. It's like you got to be in the top 6, otherwise we're just wasting you. So Colton Sceviour, based off of how poorly he did last year, is going to be our healthy scratch this season. And we're going to get a look at what this forward group looks like. And it is going to be something like this. As we got Borgstrom and Tippett up there. Borgstrom 82 in faceoffs, Trocheck with an 84. Okay, so that will stay. So Huberdeau, what do we want to do here? Borgstrom will definitely be the left wing on that line. Basically, it's, do I want to run Owen Tippett on that top line? And I think I do, because that could mean us changing Huberdeau over to a playmaker. Probably still have Barkov as a power forward, just because you do get that good chemistry, playmaker, power forward, sniper. So I think Huberdeau will be changed over to a playmaker, and Tippett will be on that top line right wing spot. Second line is going to be Borgstrom, Trocheck, and Brett Connolly. That will allow probably Connolly to be the power forward. And I think, yeah, we might go with Borgstrom as a sniper. Ah, he could be a playmaker. Trocheck's really good, too. Trocheck might end up being a sniper this season. He might end up being a sniper this year. Although we could set up Borgstrom that way because he does have decent shot power. Then the third line is going to be Malgin, Vetrano, and probably Howrlyuk. Probably. I mean, he's an 81. Having these guys be two-ways, and then probably have Hunt, Achari, and yeah, Sorella as grinders. That looks pretty good. Does Achari have the best face-offs on that line? He does. That's okay. Who has a better shot between Sorella and Hunt? Let's go with Dryden Hunt on that side. So there you go. Those will be the lines. I'm going to change up the player types at some point. But that's what we're looking like heading into this season. And then defensively, as Yandel dipped a little bit. Boy, those are multiple +3s, huh? I was going to move up Ekblad. It makes more sense to have Ekblad on that second pairing. I think those are the combos right there. I think those are the combos. Strawman's a better fit on that top unit, but not by much. And then Matheson is actually a third pairing guy now. And obviously we'll be taking out Petrovic and giving the rookie Carpenter the opportunity, who is not a good fit on that third pair, unfortunately. But I think those are the pairings to start the year. Like I said, super tempted to make that switch right there. And actually, that might be better because Sergachev, yeah, we could go two-way, and then defensive D with an offensive D. That might actually be the better way to do it. And then that way, Ekblad's getting that prime time. I think that's it right there. I think that's it. It's not too bad. And then again, Bobrovsky back up to an 86. I'm really liking the look of this team. Like I said, I have some things to change. And actually, I'll do that now. It makes sense. So a quick little jump cut, and then we are going to start the season sim. I'll get you a look at the AHL team as well when that's all fixed up. All right, guys, here we go. The team is set up. We are good to go. It is, of course, Huberdeau, Barkov, Tippett with that +3, Borgstrom, Trocheck, and Connolly with the +3, Vetrano, Howrlyuk, and Malgin, Sorella, Achari, and Hunt with the +1. Defensively is where we change things up because 2 +5s are possible with a DFD Sergachev and an offensive Keith Yandel, a DFD Strawman, and an offensive Aaron Ekblad, Matheson, and Carpenter as that third pairing. Not looking too bad. There's no way because of the X's to get them positive chemistry. Again, Bobrovsky, the goaltender. It is Sceviour and Petrovic as the healthy scratches. The AHL, not as impressive. Of course, defensively, there's really no one we're looking at aside from maybe Riley Stillman starts to make a push. And then offensively, we'll see what Heponiemi can do. He's kind of the last big player to pay attention to. I mean, Cliff Poo is there. Jonathan Ong is there. But nothing too crazy. We'll see what Connor Ingram can do as the goaltender. And again, if Francouz struggles, Ingram will likely be the guy for us to get, the next opportunity, next man up. If that doesn't work, then so be it. Just double checking that all the scouts are set up, and from the looks of it, kind of. We don't really need an EBEL scout. Germany's good, NLA is good, Extra League is good. I'll throw another scout over to Liga because, of course, the Allsvenskan, no one shows up. Rest of world, nobody shows up. It's not really worth it. So with that, we're good to go. Let's see what happens in the early stages of this season. I'm really intrigued to see what our ratings are going to be overall-wise and just how good this team's going to perform. I mean, the expectation for us to be a playoff team is there, certainly. Are we going to be able to match winning 57 games like we did last year? I mean, I doubt it, but I never expected that in the first place. So it is really a big question mark as far as what the hell we're looking at and what the hell this season's going to be for us. So ratings-wise, only an 86 offense, but 90 defense and 83 goaltending. Again, I feel like that offense, obviously that offensive rating is dragged down right now by Tippett and Borgstrom, but by the end of the year, that decision could have proven to be a pretty shrewd one, and it could work out for us in a big-time way. Or perhaps losing Hoffman and Dadonov absolutely sinks us, as we are outscored 9-1 over our first 2 games, so that's a real good sign. Bounce back with a win against the Bruins. John Hayden goes down to injury as Menulag screws me over. Gotta love it. Let's just go best lines. It's fine. It's fine. Even the minuses aren't that damaging, and of course Hayden will be back, so it's not that big of a deal. Draft class-wise, we might as well take a look. It is the Roddy draft and the Brant Clark draft, although there is a computer-generated franchise player, Mikhail Tiemander. Yeah, he's got the Solani comparison. There you go. That's always fun. We'll go best lines down in the AHL again, so always fun when one of the first few drafts is shaken up by a random franchise-level player, but that is exactly what has happened for this series as we play our final game of the month. So 7-4-1, that's not a brutal start. I feel like that's similar to the start that we had last season. And then just out of nowhere, we took off and started winning and winning and winning and winning. That's just the only thing that seemed to happen. So Iverson's happy I kept my promise. Yeah, we had a 9-game trial. Nope, we are keeping our boy here. We are keeping our young defenseman on the team. Of course, right now we haven't even looked at the stats or anything for that particular defenseman. So we'll see what happens as a couple losses. Not ideal. Win against the Islanders. Still hanging around in a playoff spot as we reach about a quarter of the way through the season. Maybe struggling a little bit more than I would have thought. But again, it is super early. So Hutsko goes down to an injury. We have 2 more games this month. It's a back-to-back, Buffalo and Dallas, and we split those games. So 16-9-1, no real complaints about that record. Currently in 3rd in the division. The Sabres, though, doing pretty well. Keith Yandel is killing it right now. Over a point a game as a defenseman. So Jonathan Huberdeau doing incredibly well. 27 points in 26 games. Sasha Barkov with 28 points. And Owen Tippett, he's hanging in there. 13 points. Not exactly scoring the goals I'd like to see him score, but he's hanging in there. Borgstrom, 11 points. You have 27 for Trocheck. Brett Connolly, not exactly killing it right now either. We're going to stick with it, but there is room to potentially make changes. Vetrano with 10 points, 7 for Halleruck, 8 for Malgin. Sorella with 10 points on the 4th line, 8 for Achari, and 11 for Dryden Hunt. So there are, there are possibilities, mix and match options within that top 6. Defensively, Sergachev 20 points and a +9 next to Yandel, who has 29 points and a +9. Second pairing, Ekblad, 11 points isn't too bad, 10 for Strawman and a +3. Matheson and Tim Carpenter doing well. Carpenter's already gone up by a point. And goaltending-wise, Francouz is killing it. Bobrovsky, not so much, which is incredibly scary. Because, again, the contract that Bobrovsky is currently on, that would require cap retention for a long, long time, or a buyout that would last for a long time. So get used to seeing Sergei Bobrovsky here. He is pretty much our goalie for the long haul. I mean, even once Spencer Knight's ready to go, we might still have to just keep Bobrovsky as the backup or keep them as a 1-2 punch until it makes sense to get rid of Sergei. And it's not going to make sense financially for a while, unless there is a team that has contracts that we can take advantage of, expiring deals that, have super low value, or 2 or 3 year deals that have super low value, like a Lucic contract. If we could take on a Lucic contract to get rid of Bobrovsky, maybe. But again, still not going to be worth it until Spencer Knight is good to go. So let's take a look here. First place in the division, but we have played a lot more games at, relatively compared to Boston, Montreal, and Ottawa. Yandel is still absolutely killing it. So no real reason to change up the lines when we've won 7 of our last 10 games. We will sim to February. And in terms of whether or not there are moves to make, we'll see. Again, is Tippett ready? Is Borgstrom ready for the spots that we have them in? Maybe, maybe not. For the spots that we has them in. Did I say has or have? For the spots that we have them in, that's proper English regardless. Maybe I repeated myself for no reason, but there you go. Obviously, deadline-wise, we're going to want to maybe be like, no, let's get players that are better. But we are still winning games. We are first in the division. So is there really a point, as Ben Sherratt and Lucas Spiza have been dealt for Samuel Fagemo, a 3rd and a 4th. Right. Ben Sherratt. I mean, that's not that bad. I guess that makes sense. The Kings buying doesn't make a whole, the Kings buying, it really doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense, but it is what it is, I suppose. As we have 2 games left in this calendar year. We play Boston and Tampa. And against the Bruins, we win. Against the Lightning, we win 7-3. So February 1st, we are in first place in the Atlantic Division by a decent margin. Bruins have 2 games at hand, but they are currently 9 points back. Keith Yandel is absolutely killing it. Let's take a look at everybody else, though. So Jonathan Huberdeau is great. He has 53 points in 52 games, a plus 23. Pretty much on pace. I mean, he's on pace to be better than what he was last year. Sasha Barkov on 49 points currently, so a little bit behind the pace for what we'd want from him. He had 80 points last year. I mean, really about the same point pace. I can't necessarily complain. And then Owen Tippett on 31 points in 52 games. I gotta be honest, that's not that bad. That's not that bad for a player of his caliber. He's still a 79. I don't think changing up player types would necessarily be different. But again, like if I put him on the 3rd line, I mean, yeah, Connolly could be bumped up and then like Vetrano could be bumped up. But it made sense to give Tippett that opportunity. Still does. Borgstrom on the 2nd line, 29 points. No complaints. You can argue maybe he should be the one on the 1st line. Vincent Trocheck is killing it. Maybe the best, 2C in the game right now. Well, I mean, people will be like, Matthews Tavares. Okay, sure. But Trocheck's good. That's the point, and especially compared to what he did last year. He's absolutely killing it. And Brett Connolly, not so much. 29 points. I still think it's worth probably just keeping these lines together, though, based off of how we're doing. Frank Vetrano, 22 points for a 3rd liner. That's good. He'll hit 30. Howard Luck, not quite going to hit the point totals that I want him to hit. Dennis Mulligan on 18 points, 11 goals. The 4th line, Sorella, 14 points. Chari with 15. Dryden Hunt doing very well. You could argue he should maybe be on the 3rd line. No real complaints. I mean, there are some different combinations that we could try out. But in terms of the talent that we have, are they good enough? I mean, they're good enough to have us be in first place as of February 1st. So it's tough to say whether or not we should go out and get anybody. And if we do, just how much does it really increase our chances, especially with the way the sim engine is? This might not be the worst team to go into the playoffs with, especially with such a stacked defense. Sergachev on 40 points and a plus 21. Yandel again, 60 points in 52 games. Ekblad doing well. Strahlman doing well. Matheson and Carpenter are doing well. There's not much we have to change about this team. I mean, the goaltending is still a little bit suspect. Now, yeah, in theory, if we were to add another, top-notch player, whether or not, it's a good option in the top 6, you bump down someone like Connolly to the 3rd line. In theory, does that improve the team? Yes, but That's not always the way it works. I mean, we've seen that time and time again. How many times do super teams fall short in the playoffs? But at the very least, we'll take a look at the options that are out there. Bruins shopping Vakanainen. When do they not? Buffalo getting rid of Jan Ruda. Right now, the market seems relatively quiet, too. Like, Jonathan Taves is out there, but there's no way we're taking that deal or the Andrew Shaw deal. Not a chance. Colorado's moving Donskoy. If not with that contract, you're not. Columbus moving Foligno and Atkinson. I mean, like, Nick Foligno for the third line could be a pretty damn good pickup. He is a second-line option. So, I mean, you know, potentially have him... Because we don't want to drop Borgstrom or tip it down, right? So, yeah, bringing in Nick Foligno to be on the second line to replace Connolly or just be on the third line himself, would that be a good way, or, you know, a good pickup? Potentially, but just how much is that really going to help our team? And Gustav Nyquist was there too, but I don't remember what his contract is. I mean, we do have certain players that we could move on from, but what's really the point? How much is it really going to help us? And unfortunately, that Ottawa draft pick isn't exactly looking as strong as it was. Alos has gone from like a 49 to a 62. I don't really think we have to make changes. You know, there is always that desire to make the team better. But are we just going to hurt our chances by making a move? We might. So, here, you know what? For due diligence, at least, let's keep going through. As again, Foligno's there. Nyquist not with that contract. So, I mean, we could look at bringing in a Nick Foligno to boost up the team a little bit. Dallas has nobody we'd want. Franz Nielsen, no thank you. Edmonton has nobody that we'd want. Los Angeles is moving on from Alexei Afalo. Riley Nash. Actually, now that I think about it, let's go back to Columbus. No extension for Foligno. Crucial point there. Minnesota's moving on from Matt Boldy, but, I mean, he's a prospect. Shea Weber. Petrie has an extension, so no thanks. But Tatar, Gallagher, Patrick Maroon. I mean, let's see. Tatar, 35 points. Gallagher on 44. I mean, obviously decent options, but I don't really think we have to make the changes. Palmieri already signed an extension. So it's like Blake Coleman is available. Nikita Gusev is available. Coleman currently on 18 points. Gusev, 23 goals on the season. But, you know, top 6 options. I at least want to give you guys a look at the options that are out here in case we were to make a move. But I genuinely don't think that I'm going to make a move. I mean, I think it would take one hell of a case, one hell of an argument to change the opinion on that. I mean, you look at what happened last year. We're like, oh, do we make moves at the deadline? No, we don't. We stick with the team that we had, and great things nearly happened. We were 2 wins shy of the Stanley Cup. So I can't help but think that that formula and just sticking with the team that we have is going to be the best way to get us there. But there you go. A look at what everyone has on the block right now. That will do it for this one. I will see you guys in the next episode where we will finish up the regular season for Season 2. Depending on how quickly that goes, maybe playoffs as well. Time will tell. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out everything in the description. Shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. And I will see you next time.